Hey guys, it's Scott here and welcome to today's video. We're going to be taking a look at Leicester's transfer business in this summer window and seeing whether we think that it was any good, whether there were any players that we really should have gone for or positions, did we lose anyone that we really should have kept hold of, etc, etc. So I do want to hear your thoughts down in the comment section. If you do have any feedback as well on these kind of videos, always get those comments in. But if you do enjoy it, thumb it up, subscribe if you are new. And we are going to get into Leicester's transfer business for the summer 21-22 transfer window. Let's go. First things first, what an absolutely crazy transfer window for everybody. Not just in the Premier League, but around the world. We've seen some absolute madness. And if you do want to see my rankings of basically who won the transfer window, that video is going up tomorrow, which will be the last video, by the way, in this current surrounding. I'm actually moving to my new apartment that's in the middle of town in Leicester, which should be a lot of fun. So any future videos after that one tomorrow will be in there. So crazy transfer window. What we're going to start with are the outs for Leicester before looking at the players that have come in. So let's go. First off, we've got Christian Fuchs, who finally left the club. He'd been here for so long, so much longer than he intended, and that we intended for him to be here, but he kept signing new deals, and what a servant to the club. He was here for the highs and the lows, and my goodness, I think basically every Leicester fan is a massive fan of Fuchs. I've actually met him multiple times in person, and he was an absolute gentleman every single time. The guy was a legend to talk to, just chill and have a down-to-earth conversation with. He will be missed. However, his contribution to the club was getting less and less each season, and it was time to replace him with a fresher set of legs as that backup option at left-back. So we wish Fuchs all the best. Let's move on to the next one. Matty James was released from the club finally. He has basically got to the stage where we can't really hold on anymore and hope that he gets fit enough to play. It was seasons after season after season with horrible injuries that just kept him away, and when he finally got that comeback, he'd get injured again, and it was heartbreaking because, again, Matty James has been here for so long. Very nice guy as well, like Fuchs, and just a true professional, really, I think is one of the best, kindest things that we can say to truly reflect how good a footballer he was for our club. And so, again, it's with regret that he does end up leaving, but it was time. Another big one in that regard is Wes Morgan. Obviously, the captain of the season, but he's been with us through so much more than that. And it's hard to put into words how crazy his time at Leicester must have been. I'm sure he will probably be getting book deals and stuff like that to talk about everything that has happened, because it is utter madness. Obviously, he wasn't playing as much either lately, and it was injuries and just lack of match fitness, pace, etc. that was keeping him away from even being part of matchday squads despite being the club captain. And it seemed about right that this was the time. It's a new generation of Leicester, obviously the modern era now. Let's replace him, keep him at the club, because obviously he's an absolute legend. Regardless of whether you think he was any good in his last few years or not, it literally does not matter with this kind of player. They're a club legend, club hero. There'll be a statue of him at some point in the future, I'm sure of it. With all these big new stadium plans, him, Casper, Ranieri, Vardy, probably as like a quadruple, will probably have some kind of statue. So fair play to Wes. He's been an absolute hero. We love him for it. But it was time for it to come to an end. Now let's get to some of the lesser known and lesser important players. Josh Knight has left the club to go to Peterborough. Admiral Muskway has joined Luton. Rashid Gazal has gone back permanently now to Besiktas. Mitchell Clark has gone to Accrington Stanley. And Kamal Soa has gone to Club Bruges. These are all permanent deals from younger players leaving the club. Muskway kind of surprised me a little bit, and so did Soa. But hey, We apparently don't think that we need that many wingers, and so we let him go to Bruges. Now let's get to the outgoing loan players. First off, Tyrese Shade has gone to Walsall. George Hurst has gone to Portsmouth. Daniel Everson has gone to Preston. Callum Wright to Cheltenham Town. Lesher Bella has gone to Shrewsbury Town. Sam Hughes has gone to Burton Albion. And Dennis Pratt has gone to Torino with a little bit of a loan fee and a potential option to buy of roughly 15 mil. So it's a shame. Dennis, I really enjoyed him. I thought he was a good player. However, with the purchase of one player that we'll talk about in a minute and Kiernan Dewsbury Hall coming up through the ranks, he isn't really that much of a loss. And to take his quite big wages off the table and be able to offload him on loan first, if he does well, then we'll sell him. We'll get back a lot of the money that we ended up spending on him, which is great business. We'll take it, I guess. Now, it's on to the incomings. Let's go. First up is Yannick Vestergaard. Now, this is an interesting one. We've been looking at him for years, but we've never really gone in fully and gone for the killer blow and said, yes, we are taking him. Whatever the cost is, we're having him. However, the Wesley Fofana injury that obviously you all know about at the start of the season has really scuppered our plans. Maybe we would have gone for another centre-back on loan. Maybe we wouldn't have gone for one at all. We do not know. However, what is clear is that Vestergaard has coming in at about £15 million as well. Not too expensive, but also not really cheap. He does look like he is going to be starting games, at least until Johnny Evans is back. Now, there's a little bit of confusion as to what his role will be at the club. I personally think, obviously he's not a Fofana replacement. That would be ridiculous to say. Whilst he's injured, sure, he can replace him in the squad. But I believe that Vestergaard is more of a Johnny Evans replacement. I think that with his age, his pace is slowing. He's getting a lot more injuries and he's becoming injury prone. It's very risky to have that as one of your mainstays in your starting 11. And so I think Vestergaard, a few years younger, is going to be an Evans replacement, and Evans will take the role that Wes Morgan had last season, where you rarely see him, but occasionally he pops up and he has a good performance. I think that Brendan really likes Johnny Evans. However, I think with these injuries, it would be risky to keep playing him and thinking that he is the guy that needs to be in every single squad. There are a lot of people that really, really like Johnny. I'm not a massive fan because of the way that he slows up play and puts his foot on the ball instead of passing it to even another fullback or centre-back or something like that. So I kind of hope that that is the Vestergaard role, but we'll have to wait and see. Next, let's go to left-back. So obviously another position where we're injured. Defensive injuries, not great for us this season, a bit like last year. James Justin is out for multiple months, and even when he does come back, it might be like Ricky P. Because it was an ACL, you never come back at full strength once you're back from your injury. So it may take a few more months even after his return for him to be able to properly play. So, Ryan Bertrand, he is the answer to not that, but also the Fuchs leaving of the club. So he is basically much fresher and everything than Fuchs was, again, as he was getting older and slower, etc. Bertrand's come in with that Premier League experience, solid defender in that position. His set-piece ability is huge for us. And I believe once he's back from his COVID and whatever illness he's got right now and gets back into the team, because it looks like he is going to be in the starting 11, at least until JJ is fully fit and raring to go, his set-piece ability is going to be a massive upgrade on, like, Maddison's corners are not that great. So having Bertrand to be able to whip those in, really, really nice. Solid player to get on a free as well. We will happily take that. Let's move on to the next one. Buba Sumaree, coming in from league winners Lille over in France at roughly £17 million. This looks like a pretty good buy. Now, I'm not going to lie and say that I knew a lot about Soumare before we bought him. However, after researching him, listening to people's opinions of people that have watched a lot of Lille, etc. in the past year or so, he seems like a very, very solid midfielder. He reminds me in his build, his stature, the way that he plays, a little bit of Yaya Toure. He's not an out-and-out defensive mid. He's not an out-and-out attacking mid. He's more of a box-to-box player that is really physical. He's big and strong. He's going to hold you off the ball. He's going to drive forward with it. And he has a great eye for a pass. Now, the one comparison to Yaya that is hard to make right now is his shooting ability. He hasn't really been tested in terms of his shot at Lille. Will he be moved a little bit further forward to see how good he is at that at Leicester? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But Brendan did make a passing comment at one point about potentially adding more goals to his game. So Soumare looks like a very, very good addition in that midfield. Now, will he eventually push into the starting 11? I'd be surprised unless we change formation. I think we're going to stick with Ndidi, Tielemans and Maddison. Although Maddison's form right now, I don't think anyone would really argue against playing Soumare or Dewsbury Hall for a few games and seeing how they do. But looks like an absolute baller, and I'm really excited to see more of him. A really, really solid purchase in terms of the price to ability, age, etc. It's all really good. It fits the Leicester way. I trust our scouts that we've got ourselves an absolute banger. Now, let's move on to the striker position. Up front, we have got the heir to the throne, the successor to Jamie Vardy in Patson Daka. Slightly more expensive, this one, coming in from RB Salzburg. And he looks incredible, really. From everything that I've seen a little bit of Salzburg in the past. I have read a decent amount about him. Obviously watched him in pre-season and when he's come on so far as well. He is rapid. Simple as that. His pace is absolutely astounding. He has a great eye for goal. Decently two-footed as well. Give him a chance. He's going to go for goal. He's going to bury that chance. And we've already seen in some of the pre-season games how he can utilise that pace to get in behind, a bit like the Vardy of old. Obviously, he's still doing it, but not as much and as frequently in games. I think that's one thing that Daka will get you is not just similar runs to Vardy, but more of them because he has more stamina, because he's younger, fresher, etc, etc. So you are getting ridiculous pace in behind. As I say, a great eye for goal, two-footed, has decent vision as well. So really, really looking forward to seeing how the rotation of Vardy, Iheanacho and Daka happens this season. As it stands so far, we've only played one up top to start games, and it's been Vardy, and then Iheanacho's come off the bench in a couple, and he's looked good. It seems really, really harsh to drop Iheanacho after how good he was in the second half of the previous season. He got a great partnership with Vardy in this sort of 3-5-2 formation. Now that Harvey Barnes is fit again, we're kind of changing formation, our shape, purely for him, and based on his performances so far, it doesn't really seem like that's worth it. I would put Kelechi in the team ahead of him right now, and it would also have fixed our problem with playing Perez out on the right wing, which he doesn't seem to suit. However, the final transfer may solve all of these problems. So Leicester were linked with a lot of right-sided wing players this summer. Some of the names off the top of my head, you had people like Leon Bailey, Noddy Madueke, we also had Neres from Ajax. There were a lot, Berardi, like so many that we were linked with. However, what we've ended up with, instead of an out-and-out right wing, is Ademola Lookman on loan from Leipzig. Now, he has played in the Premier League before for Everton. It didn't really work out. He went on loan to Leipzig. He then moved permanently after impressing there. Last season, he was on loan at Fulham in the Premier League, and he looked pretty good in a very, very average Fulham team. And now he's signed for us on loan with an option to buy. Very, very similar to the Under deal last season. Now, by all accounts, Under was supposed to be the one. The final, after years, Riyad Mahrez replacement. It didn't work out, whether it was how he did stuff in training, or maybe he didn't track back enough in the game, he didn't get stuck in enough, I don't know. He was very, very direct. I enjoyed watching him play. He looked positive on the ball every time he got it, and he made things happen. But apparently, they didn't see enough from him, we didn't take up that option. This is the same kind of thing. However, Lookman hasn't really played on the right as much. He's been predominantly on the left side, and that's where his best performances have come, from the left, getting goals and assists. He has played up front at times. He has played on the right on occasion. Now, if you believe everything that's been said over the last few years, we've always been looking for a right winger that cuts in on their left foot. This doesn't match that. We've signed a predominantly left-sided player that's right-footed. However, he is pretty two-footed. He's got a decent left peg on him. So, are we going to try and convert him to a right-sided player that cuts in or can go both ways? Maybe. Or are we sticking with Perez and Albrighton on the right, and we've basically just got ourselves a backup for Barnes that can also play across the front three and is a nice versatile player to have in the squad? I'm not sure. And so this is where we're going to go into, was this a good transfer window or not? First things first, we didn't lose any big player. For the first time in like 5 seasons, however many it is at this stage, we haven't lost anyone big. Started with Kante, Drinkwater, Mahrez, Maguire, Chilwell. Regardless of how good you thought they went for massive money. They were a part of the starting 11. They were a big part of the team. This season, we kept hold of everyone. There were many, many rumours about Tielemans to Liverpool, Maddison to Arsenal, and others here and there. A couple of rumours about Barnes at one point, etc. Even Sancho to Barcelona. It was crazy. But we've managed to retain all of them. Dennis Pratt is the biggest loss, really, and he didn't even get into the matchday squad a lot of the time. So this is huge. And this may be a massive stepping stone in our attempts to push the club forward into one that isn't always about selling a big player, buying cheap players to replace them. Maybe, if we do well enough this season, this would be the norm rather than an outlier or a one-off season, okay? We got to hope for that. Now, the problem with that is we do need to get people tied up to contracts, otherwise they'll just end up going next summer if we don't do very well, like Tielemans. That would be absolutely huge to lose him, or Ndidi, or someone like that. So, in terms of retaining players, 10 out of 10 for that. Other outgoings, not really a loss. I mean, I'm looking down the list right here. Fuchs didn't really matter because he's been replaced by Bertrand. Matty James, no. Morgan, no. Knight, Musquet, Shade, Hurst, Everson is only a loan. He'll probably be the future of the club at some stage. Wright, Gazal, no. Leshabella, Clark, Soa. Maybe there are a couple of question marks about him. Maybe he would have grown into a great player, but we'll never know how it would have worked here. Dennis Pratt, as I said, the biggest one, and then Sam Hughes. So outgoings are basically nothing in terms of an impact on the squad on a match day. Not even the starting 11, but the squad on a match day. Perfect. So that is a brilliant start. Now, we look at the incomings. First off, Patson Daka. Really, really good signing. As I said before, maybe the successor to Vardy. Looks like an absolute animal. Very excited to see him play in the Premier League and learn off Vardy. Potentially improve even more and become our striker for the next 5+ years or something. Great signing. Soumare could be the same in midfield. If we do end up losing someone like Tielemans, let's say next summer, whilst Soumare's passing isn't quite as good, it's still great, and he does get you that the vision, but also the strength. So you lose a tiny bit of passing ability and bump it up with the physicality. It's a bit of a mix between Yori and Wilf, really. Combine the two, that's what you've got. So another great signing, especially not just for potential starting 11s in cup games, Europa League or whatever, but if he does keep performing like he did in the preseason games and keeps improving, maybe the starting 11. So another brilliant signing. Ryan Bertrand on a free. Incredible. As I said before, great at set pieces, looks solid, has amazing experience in the Premier League. Replacing Fuchs, who was getting old, it's not as if when every single player in our entire squad is fit, Bertrand's going to be starting every game. So to get him on a free at that age, incredible. Vestergaard. Maybe a slight bit of panic because of the Fofana injury, but I like him. After watching him a lot more, a couple of years ago when we were linked with him, I didn't like it. I thought that he was just slow, huge, and not that great. But watching him more for Southampton, and now for us even so far already, his vision is fantastic for a pass to break the lines. That's what you want in a ball-playing centre-back, which is exactly what we have in the formation and system that we play under Rodgers. playing it out from the back, maybe missing out on Ndidi, firing that ball between a tiny gap, getting it to Tielemans or Maddison. Perfect. He also adds a ton of height. He's like 6'7". So defending and attacking set pieces, we finally have someone that could dominate in the air, which is massive. So really, really good one. Lookman, is he the winger that everybody was hoping for? This Mahrez-esque guy? Maybe, but probably not. Now, there are rumblings that Brendan doesn't really want two players that are like Barnes. He wants one that is an out-and-out winger, like Harvey, and then on the other side, or vice versa, you have one that sort of tucks inside. Ricky P overlaps around the outside, turns into the winger on the attack, and your right-sided player turns into a second number 10 with Maddison during that attack. If that's the case, Lookman could be great for that. And I guess it just comes down to what you believe. If you think that that's basically just being said because we aren't getting that kind of player on the right-hand side, fair play. That's completely fair. I think that it will be a decent signing. Whether it'll be a great signing, it's impossible to say right now. I would have liked an out-and-out right winger, like a Birdie, Madueke, someone like that, really. However, I cannot complain if this is the kind of thing that we're going for. And so, I think that is the only downside to this entire transfer window. We kept hold of everybody. We improved in multiple areas that we needed to. Like, what is there to complain about? So, I'd love to hear your ratings for this transfer window out of 10 for Leicester. As I said before, I will rate basically every Premier League team's transfer window tomorrow in a video, as well as a couple of other clubs like Real Madrid, PSG. We might whack them in there as well. I mean, it's messy, right? But I'm going to say 9.5 out of 10 for this transfer window. And most of that comes from retaining everybody. But then the additions were incredible. I think it would have been a 10 out of 10 if Lookman was naturally right-sided rather than predominantly left. I think that would have been fine, because he can probably play over there, but maybe not to his full ability. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed it, thumb it up, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.